Ah, gather around, dear listeners, and lend me your ears, for tonight I shall share a tale that twists and turns like a winding river in the dark of night, a tale of secrets, of forbidden desires, and of lessons learned when the heart is led astray. This is the story of an old couple whose wisdom and misguided compassion led them down a treacherous path, and of their daughter, whose yearning for passion collided with the reality of love's consequences, leaving scars that time itself could not easily erase. In a quiet, picturesque town tucked away between rolling hills and misty valleys, there lived an elderly couple, Harold and Beatrice. They were known throughout the town not only for their gentle smiles and kind hearts, but also for the unwavering belief that love was the one force capable of redeeming all wrongs. Harold, a retired schoolteacher with a shock of white hair and eyes that had seen more than his share of life's sorrows, had always maintained that love was not to be measured by the constraints of society or the rigid rules of propriety. Beatrice, graceful and tender, with a soft laugh that could calm even the stormiest of hearts, had spent her life believing that one must always follow the heart's desire, no matter how unconventional it might seem. Their daughter, Victoria, a vibrant yet conflicted woman in her early 30s, had grown up under the tender guidance of her parents, absorbing their philosophy like a sponge. Victoria had always been a free spirit, a whirlwind of passion and intensity, and though she was married to Gregory, a kind and steady man known for his quiet reliability, she felt a burning restlessness within her soul. Gregory, a devoted husband and a diligent accountant, had long since accepted the calm, predictable life they shared. He had little idea of the tumult that raged within Victoria's heart. And so, beneath the veneer of domestic bliss, a storm was gathering, a storm that would change everything for all involved. It began subtly, with fleeting glances and half-whispered conversations at the office where Victoria worked. There, amid the clatter of keyboards and the hum of fluorescent lights, was a man named Daniel, a charismatic coworker whose smile was as disarming as it was dangerous. Daniel had a way of making Victoria feel alive, as if each moment spent in his presence was a burst of color in a world otherwise painted in shades of gray. His eyes, dark and enigmatic, seemed to speak of secrets and adventures yet to be had, and soon, Victoria found herself drawn into a clandestine dance of desire that she had never before dared to imagine. Now, dear listeners, here is where the tale takes a turn most unexpected. It was not solely Victoria's yearning that set this course, but also the quiet, well-intentioned meddling of Harold and Beatrice. Convinced that the rigidity of her marriage was stifling her true nature, and that a taste of the forbidden might be the key to unlocking a deeper, more profound happiness, the old couple discreetly encouraged her to embrace her desires. "Let your heart speak," Harold would say, his voice a soft murmur over cups of tea on lazy afternoons. "For a life without passion is a life half-lived." Beatrice, with her knowing smile, would add, "You must taste the sweetness of life, even if it comes with a hint of bitterness later." Their words, dripping with both wisdom and a touch of recklessness, planted seeds in Victoria's heart that soon blossomed into a fervent need for something more, something dangerous and exhilarating. Thus, under the secret approval of her parents, Victoria embarked on a path fraught with peril. In the hidden corners of her everyday routine, she found herself entangled in a relationship with Daniel. A relationship that began with stolen moments in quiet meeting rooms, continued with covert rendezvous in shadowed cafes, and blossomed into passionate trysts in the privacy of her own home. Every encounter was like a spark set ablaze, lighting up her soul with a fervor that was both intoxicating and forbidden. The thrill of the affair carried Victoria away from the safe harbor of her marriage, and she began to live in a world of secret smiles and furtive glances, where every whispered word felt like a rebellion against the ordinary. But, as many a wise soul has learned, the pursuit of pleasure often carries with it consequences as heavy as the chains of fate. Gregory, the gentle husband who had never once doubted Victoria's love for him, started to sense that something was amiss. There were days when the light in her eyes seemed dimmer, replaced by a restless shadow. Nights when her laughter, once as bright as morning sunshine, now held a tremor of guilt. Gregory's suspicions grew, as did his pain, though he masked it behind a facade of calm acceptance. For him, the idea that the woman he loved could harbor secrets was a torment too profound to voice. As weeks melted into months, the clandestine affair spiraled deeper into a labyrinth of lies and half-truths. Victoria, once buoyed by the heady rush of forbidden passion, began to feel the crushing weight of her actions. The very freedom she had sought turned out to be a double-edged sword, slicing through the fabric of her carefully constructed life. The more she tasted the excitement of her secret liaisons, the more she began to realize that she was losing something precious: her sense of self, her connection to the life she had once known. And in the midst of this inner turmoil, the shadows of doubt began to creep in, whispering that perhaps the path she had chosen was not the one to happiness after all. Meanwhile, Harold and Beatrice, who had watched their daughter's journey with a mixture of pride and apprehension, started to see the darker side of the very freedom they had once celebrated. They had believed that by allowing Victoria to follow her heart, they were offering her the ultimate gift of self-discovery. Yet, as the truth of the affair began to seep into the cracks of their family's facade, they were forced to confront the possibility that their well-intentioned interference might have been a grave mistake. Their hearts, once buoyed by the conviction that passion was the highest virtue, now trembled at the cost of the family they had worked so hard to nurture. One fateful evening, when the cool breeze of autumn whispered secrets through the ancient trees lining the town's cobblestone streets, Gregory's suspicions finally erupted into confrontation. It was a night heavy with unspoken words and bitter revelations, a night when the truth could no longer be hidden behind delicate smiles and carefully chosen words. Gregory, his eyes brimming with sorrow and determination, confronted Victoria with evidence of her infidelity. In a moment of raw vulnerability, as tears streamed down her face and her voice broke with regret, Victoria confessed everything: the stolen moments, the passionate meetings, and the secret encouragement of her own parents. The revelation hit the family like a tidal wave. Gregory, wounded deeply by the betrayal, felt the ground shift beneath his feet as the life he had known crumbled around him. In that instant, the old couple's hearts were pierced with the pain of realizing that their own misguided attempts to free their daughter had come at a cost far greater than they had ever imagined. The house that had once echoed with the laughter of shared dreams fell silent, its walls now bearing the weight of shattered trust and unspoken grief. Yet, as the bitter taste of regret filled the air, the story did not end in despair. For within the wreckage of lies and broken promises, a slow, painful transformation began to take root, a transformation that would teach each of them the true meaning of love and redemption. Victoria, tormented by the knowledge of the hurt she had caused, embarked on a long and arduous journey of self-forgiveness and healing. She sought to understand the depths of her own pain, to unearth the roots of the emptiness that had driven her to seek solace in forbidden arms. In therapy sessions that stretched over months, in long nights spent pouring her heart out on blank pages, she discovered that the true path to happiness lay not in the thrill of the moment, but in the honest, sometimes painful pursuit of inner peace. Gregory, too, was forced to confront the shattered remnants of his own heart. The man who had loved Victoria unconditionally now found himself wrestling with a maelstrom of emotions: anger, sorrow, and a lingering hope that, somehow, forgiveness might one day be possible. In quiet moments, when the world was hushed and the moon cast silver shadows on the floor, he recalled the days when their love had been as simple and pure as the first light of dawn. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, he began to understand that true love was not about perfection or blind acceptance, but about the courage to face one's own vulnerabilities and to strive for healing, even when the scars of betrayal ran deep. But what of Harold and Beatrice, whose hearts had once soared at the prospect of liberated passion. Their journey, too, was one of painful reckoning. As they watched the fallout of their actions, they were forced to question the very foundations of their beliefs. They had always preached that love was a boundless force, one that could never be confined by rules or expectations. Yet, in their zeal to grant their daughter the freedom to explore her desires, they had unwittingly sown the seeds of discord and heartache. With heavy hearts, they embarked on a path of introspection, seeking guidance from old friends, wise mentors, and even the quiet solace of long-forgotten letters. In time, they came to understand that the liberation of the heart must be tempered by the responsibilities of love, that true freedom is not found in the reckless pursuit of passion, but in the delicate balance between desire and duty. And so, dear listeners, as the seasons turned and the wounds of betrayal slowly began to heal, the family found itself at a crossroads, a moment when the pain of the past could either define their future or serve as a catalyst for a deeper, more profound transformation. Victoria, with tear-streaked cheeks and a determination born of hard-earned wisdom, reached out to Gregory. In a moment as tender as it was heartbreaking, they embraced a silent acknowledgement of the love that had once bound them, even as they braced themselves to rebuild what had been lost. Gregory's forgiveness was not immediate, nor was it complete, but it was a start, a fragile, tentative step toward a future where honesty and healing might yet triumph over the darkness of deception. In a quiet aftermath of the storm, Harold and Beatrice, too, sought to mend the bonds that had been strained by their own overzealous meddling. They found solace in quiet conversations over tea, in long walks through the town's winding streets, and in the simple act of apologizing to the daughter they had longed to see happy. Their hearts, heavy with regret, slowly began to lighten as they embraced the realization that wisdom comes not from the unchecked pursuit of passion, but from the humility to learn from one's mistakes. And in that gentle awakening, the old couple discovered that the greatest love of all is the love that forgives, not just others, but oneself. As time marched on, the once fractured family began to knit together the scattered pieces of their lives. Gregory and Victoria, though forever changed by the trials they had endured, found moments of joy in the simple act of rebuilding trust. They attended counseling sessions together, learned to communicate in ways that were both honest and kind, and gradually began to see that the future need not be defined solely by the past missteps. There were still nights when the memories of betrayal haunted the corners of their minds, but with each new sunrise, there came the possibility of a fresh start, a chance to redefine love on their own terms. In the midst of this quiet renaissance, the community that had once watched the family's private drama from afar began to see a different story unfolding. A story not of scandal and ruin, but of growth, of redemption, and of the indomitable human spirit's capacity to rise again. Neighbors who had whispered in judgment now spoke in tones of sympathy and understanding, recognizing that the path to forgiveness is often a long and arduous journey. And in that collective recognition, there emerged a newfound sense of compassion, a reminder that every heart carries its own burdens, and that the willingness to forgive can be the most liberating gift of all. Yet, the tale I share tonight is not merely a chronicle of sorrow and regret. It is also a celebration of the resilient power of love, a love that, despite its many trials and tribulations, continues to shine even in the darkest of times. For within the shattered remnants of broken trust and the raw pain of betrayal, there emerged a glimmer of hope. Victoria, through her arduous journey of self-discovery, learned that the truest form of passion is not found in the thrill of secret liaisons, but in the honest embrace of one's own vulnerabilities. Gregory, with his gentle heart and unwavering commitment, discovered that forgiveness, though hard-earned, can pave the way for new beginnings. And Harold and Beatrice, in their twilight years, came to understand that love is a delicate dance, a balance between giving freedom and holding on to what is truly precious. And so, as the years passed and the wounds of the past began to fade into the gentle twilight of memory, the family emerged transformed. The echoes of the scandal, though never entirely silenced, were gradually replaced by the soft murmur of reconciliation and the steady heartbeat of a renewed commitment to truth. In quiet moments shared over dinner tables and in the hushed confessions exchanged during long walks under starlit skies, they discovered that every mistake, every moment of weakness, carries within it the seed of wisdom, if one is brave enough to face it. I share this story, dear listeners, not to cast judgment or to revel in the misfortunes of others, but to remind us all that the journey of love is never simple or straightforward. It is a winding path marked by both beauty and pain, where every misstep offers an opportunity to learn, to grow, and ultimately, to forgive. In the delicate interplay between passion and responsibility, between freedom and duty, we find a true essence of what it means to love and to be loved. So, as you return to your own lives and ponder the choices you have made, remember the tale of Victoria, Gregory, and the well-meaning but flawed guidance of Harold and Beatrice. Reflect on the lessons that their journey has imparted, that the pursuit of passion without accountability can lead to ruin, that honesty, even when it is painfully raw, is the only path to healing, and that sometimes the greatest act of love is the willingness to accept our own imperfections and to seek forgiveness from those we have hurt. For in the end, dear friends, it is not the mistakes we make that define us, but the courage with which we confront them, the wisdom we glean from their bitter taste, and the love we nurture in the aftermath. And as the tapestry of life unfolds before us, may we all find the strength to learn from our missteps, the grace to forgive, and the enduring hope that, no matter how dark the night, a new dawn will always come. And thus, let this story be a beacon, a reminder that even in the midst of betrayal and heartbreak, there lies within us the power to rise, to transform, and to embrace a love that is honest, healing, and true. For every end is but the beginning of another tale, and every lesson learned is a step toward the light of a new day.